You step into a quiet room, and before a single word is spoken, your brain has already mapped the exact emotional temperature of the space. You catch the avoided glance, the forced smile, and the heavy tension lingering over a dinner table. People often mistake this rapid observation for a rare gift. They praise it as a sign of exceptionally high emotional intelligence. But this constant scanning is a psychological trap. The brain lacks an off switch, meaning you take those mundane details home, pick them apart, and replay them on an endless loop. What looks like a social superpower operates as a cognitive prison. It drains your emotional energy by turning one small, quiet moment into an entire universe of overthinking. To understand why a brain gets locked in this state, we have to trace hyperawareness back to its two psychological origins. For some, it is written directly into their DNA. They are born with a highly sensitive nervous system that acts as an ultra-fine filter, rendering every moment of their life in permanent high resolution. For others, it is an inheritance of survival, a state called hypervigilance. A child growing up in an emotionally unstable environment is forced to become a human radar, scanning the mood of the house to predict a disaster before it happens. Whether built by biology or forged by survival, this hyper-awareness acts as a neurological shield, a survival mechanism that continues to scan for threats long after the environment has changed. Let's track how this shield operates in real time. Imagine you get a Slack message from your boss at 4 p.m. that simply reads, "Come see me later." A typical brain registers a standard meeting request. The hyper-aware brain flags a potential threat, analyzing the 3-second pause before the message was sent and the absence of punctuation. This lights up the default mode network. Normally active during rest, a hyper-aware brain forces these internal nodes to flash aggressively at a simple text. The prefrontal cortex turns inward. Thoughts loop endlessly as you question past actions, creating a chaotic tangle of self-referential thought. Living in constant analysis mode means the mind rarely rests. Even joyful moments are monitored and evaluated from above, which pulls you out of the experience of your own life. This hyper-processing extends directly into relationships. Every kind favor or compliment is put under a microscope and scanned for hidden conditions. This is a loss of relational innocence. When you can no longer trust the surface value of words or apologies, it leads to a deep sense of isolation, even in a crowd. The empathy you feel crosses a biological line. Through mirror neurons, you do not just logically understand another person's pain, you biologically absorb it. A stranger nervously taps their foot, and your heart rate spikes. That weight transfers into your chest, lingering for days. By acting as the emotional regulator for the room, you become an exhausted container for other people's emotional waste, leaving your own needs unmet. All of this suppressed emotional overload eventually runs out of mental space and moves straight into the physical body. The brain relies on a system called interoception to sense its own internal state. In the hyper-aware individual, this system becomes a hair-trigger alarm. You drink a cup of coffee, the caffeine raises your heart rate. The brain misreads this physical sensation as life-threatening danger, releasing a flood of cortisol, triggering a physiological panic response. Faced with an overwhelming flood of physical and emotional data, the brain deploys its final defense mechanism, analysis paralysis. The mind attempts to run endless simulations of the future. It operates on the belief that if it can perfectly predict every variable and every disappointment, it can prevent you from feeling pain. In attempting to manage your everyday life like a high-risk project, you step entirely outside of the present moment. The strategy meant to protect you from pain actually prevents you from experiencing your life. You cannot turn off hyper-awareness. Asking a sensitive brain to stop noticing things is like asking someone with perfect vision to voluntarily see the world as blurry. Moving forward requires a shift in how you engage with this input, learning to notice the data in the room without automatically absorbing it. One step is to stop personalizing the environment. If a coworker walks past without smiling, they might simply be exhausted, rather than holding a secret grudge against you. You can also stop trying to solve every internal alert. When your heart races, you can observe it as a passing physical sensation, a burst of adrenaline, rather than a problem that requires an immediate fix. Clarity of perception is a gift only when you can distinguish between what is yours to handle and what belongs to the world to leave alone. When you practice these boundaries, the awareness matures. It moves away from fear and transforms into a state of curiosity. The outside world remains complicated, but your daily experience becomes lighter because you stop trying to balance all of the world's emotional equations at once. The mind stops acting as a sharp laser that interrogates every flaw and becomes a warm candle that gently illuminates human fragility. For the deeply thinking, overly aware person, this quietness is a form of hard-earned wisdom. It is the ability to navigate the complexities of life without being imprisoned by them.